Hey, this is Gunnar, and you're listening to the Below the Surface podcast. Before we dive into this episode, I have a brief community announcement to make here. Once or twice a year, Southern Cross University hosts an Asset Sulfate Soil Assessment professional short course. It's a 2-day course. It's held on the Gold Coast, and I can honestly tell you it is awesome. No, we're not being sponsored, but I truly think this is a great course to participate in. It's held by Nick Ward and Graham Lancaster. When I did it back in 2019, Nadia Topla was also one of the presenters. They are all co-authors of the 2018 National Asset Sulfate Soil Assessment Guidance. It's held again on the 20th and 21st of November 2025. If you have time, please go and attend that course. It's a fantastic course. Link to it is in the show notes, or you can just Google Southern Cross University Asset Sulfate Soil course, and it'll take you straight there. That's that now for this episode. We have a little episode for you today that we have recorded quite a while ago. James was unfortunately unavailable at the time for the recording. He did, however, record an intro with me, which you will hear in a few minutes here. The reason for the delay in us releasing this episode is multifold. First of all, shortly after the recording, I went on an extended holiday. And also, we were umming and ahhing whether we should release it at all because of a rather poor audio quality. We apologize for that, and we are definitely trying hard to improve on that. But then we decided, hey, it would be a shame not to release this episode. There's just too much information in there that is really, really valuable. So there we go. Here is the episode. Please enjoy it, despite of some of the, at times, bad audio quality. Enjoy it.
How are you, Gunnar?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, mate. Apologies, again to you, Gunnar, that I couldn't be on the line when you spoke to Mircea. Am I saying that right? Mircea?
I don't know. I asked him at the podcast how to pronounce his name, and he refused to give me a proper pronunciation. He just called me Miha. That's
Miha.
what anybody can manage.
Right.
Okay.
I always pronounce the R. It confuses me. But yeah, Miha, great guy. I was really sad that I couldn't join you. He describes himself as an aspiring comedian. He does a lot of quite funny videos on LinkedIn and stuff. A lot of them are as part of his ongoing saga with Melbourne Water.
Yeah, he picked a fight with Melbourne Water, and it's funny. These videos are really, and what's even funnier is Melbourne Water just so doesn't know how to handle this.
Yeah, it's at the point now where like their reactions just spur him on. I think if they came at it with a bit of humor, yeah, they probably wouldn't spur him on as much. I think you wisely sort of steered clear of getting too deep into that little thing when you spoke to him. But so I thought just as part of this intro, we could kind of just touch on a couple of things, bit of context.
Yeah, it was. I must say that it was a hard interview for me to make because it's easy to talk to someone when you know the subject, which we generally do, to at least to a degree. With Miha, it was tough for me because I just so know little about stormwater and stormwater planning. So I probably that's also why the interview was so short.
I'm no expert either, but I thought we could just introduce a couple of key concepts. Like, if I'm still shocked about how many people I talk to who actually don't know the difference between stormwater and the sewer.
Oh,
so yeah. I thought it was worth just touching on that. Even some enviro people who, maybe early in their careers haven't been exposed to this. But just to be clear, so there's two main water infrastructure systems. It's the stormwater and sewer. Sewer is obvious what goes into it, but the main difference between the two is that the sewer system goes through a treatment process before it is then discharged. And back in the day, sewage treatment plants would discharge into nearshore waters on the beach. And it was actually a massive issue in Sydney and across New South Wales. Beaches were constantly closed because of sewage pollution. And I don't know when it was like the 80s or the 90s, I think it was, when there was a big investment in deep ocean outfalls, which are basically plumbing the sewage discharge point far out towards like the edge of the continental shelf almost. So like far away from the beaches where the ocean currents can actually take that away. Yeah, there is primary treatment and secondary in some cases, but it's still heavy in contaminants. Like,
I love it. I love primary treatment.
yeah, we're just taking the solids out, basically.
You take the solids out, and I don't even want to say what solids, but you take the solids out, right?
Yeah,
Good one.
exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So, there's very limited chemical treatment that happens with sewage before it's actually discharged. So anyway, so that's the sewage system, right? But then you've got the stormwater system, which is basically everything else. So all of your roadside drains, all your gutters that come off your roof, all of your external drainage in your house, stormwater canals, all that sort of thing, that is all part of the stormwater system. And that is not treated before it goes into waterways. So
isn't it even settled at least? I mean,
look,
not even suspended solids taken out?
I'm not an expert in this. As far as I'm aware, there is no treatment, and I'm pretty sure about that. So, at least for the most part, I'm talking about Sydney, New South Wales context, right? No treatment. So it's just a free flowing system that will discharge into the nearest river and then flow out to the ocean.
That's an interesting one. Yeah. See, I didn't even know that. I should have asked him about that. Roads, in particular, rainwater on roads. So it starts raining and it washes the dust off the roads.
Yeah.
That dust is chock-a-block full of all sorts of nasties, including the PAHs of tire wear. So the polyaromatic hydrocarbons coming from tires.
Yeah, but talking about treatment, so there is some treatment in some locations, but I think a lot of it is about newer developments or newer parts of the city where there's been investment in new stormwater management infrastructure, like at the local government or state government level.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're talking about there are things like engineered wetlands and that sort of thing, which are sort of holding points for large volumes of stormwater that can come in and, like you said, settle out solids and that sort of thing, or potentially have like bioremediation before they then continue to move through the system. So you can have engineered wetlands. You can have things like gross pollutant traps, which is something that that Mircea talks about quite a lot. When I say treatment, I mean, so there is no chemical treatment. There is no removal of things like heavy metals and hydrocarbons and that sort of thing. However, there is infrastructure at their sort of council or local government level to remove things like gross pollutants and that sort of thing. And Mircea talks a lot about maintenance of those systems, and that's actually a really important point because engineering controls are only as good as how well they're maintained.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen a big gross pollutant trap that is just full of rubbish and stuff, and clearly hasn't been emptied for a long time, it goes to show like they stop being effective if they're not maintained and emptied and cleaned out regularly. And that's a big part of what he talks about, which is like there's no point in putting this stuff in if you're not going to allocate the budget and maintain them long term, because they just don't. You might as well not have them. They won't function.
Yeah, that was a big point that he made. Is okay, guys, when we put all these billions of dollars of infrastructure in place, we may want to consider maintaining it. Yeah,
exactly. And so there's kind of two parts of water management or stormwater management as well, which is that there's water quantity and water quality. What he talks about does touch on quantity a little bit, but it's not really the main focus of what people like us as kind of environmental scientists deal with. Quantity is really around things like flooding and water retention on sites and that sort of thing. And that's a bit outside of our discipline. But certainly water quality is a big part of what we do. And whether that's construction dewatering that you mentioned or designing stormwater management systems for proposed developments, that's all part of like what the environmental discipline deals with.
That's usually done by specialist hydraulic consultants, though. That's most of our listeners, I assume, are environmental engineers, environmental consultants, or the target group is not necessarily hydraulic engineers or other engineers for construction sites. So we know a little bit about it.
And that's a really good point, because I feel like there's a bit of a gap around water quality management, at least in New South Wales. When we're talking about stormwater quality management, again, there's two parts to it. There's the large scale infrastructure side of things, which is like a local government initiative as to how they design those kind of catchment level systems. And then there's the site specific stuff. A lot of what Mircea talks about is how site specific stormwater controls are designed and implemented. And he talks about the music model. What I wanted to mention is the limitations of the music model and its ability to predict pollutants, because it's a model to predict the level of pollutants in a particular stormwater stream, but it's limited in that there's only a handful of pollutants that it can actually look at. It's limited to nutrients and total suspended solids and stuff like that. It's really designed for, it was originally intended for residential development, basically. So like kind of non-polluting kinds of development, right? Where stormwater runoff is expected to be relatively clean.
Mm.
And the gap for me that I've found is really around like industrial and commercial developments where you've got discharges that are heavily impacted by industrial activities. There's no standard framework in New South Wales to actually predict what the quality of the discharge from those sites is going to be.
Mm.
And it's actually a major gap, I think, in the way that we do things in New South Wales. We've got things like the Blue Book, which is really more around sediment control and mining and construction sites.
Yeah. The service stations are all the surface water from a service station at least needs to go to an interceptor, and that discharges into not stormwater. That discharges into sewer under a trade waste license. Yes.
Yeah, and the reason for that, Gunnar, correct me if I'm wrong, is because there is a guideline for the design of runoff from service stations.
I should know this. I don't.
Sure?
But I know that on service stations, all you have to do is look around. I mean, it's inevitable that you spill a little bit of petrol every time you fill your car up, or almost every time. That's not the big spills, by the way. It's when the big tankers come in. That's when stuff happens.
Yeah.
There's nice stormwater catchment systems in place including bunds that you drive over when you go to a service station. Just next time, have a look. That all gets collected, and an ideal case. Nothing leaves the site untreated, as in at least separated by gravity.
And and the same principles and the same design aspects can be used on other industrial sites as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to other facilities like waste facilities and manufacturing facilities and stuff like that, there's actually no standard framework that we have to predict the quality of stormwater that would leave a site like that, right? So there's no software that's been designed or no model that's been designed. So what that means is that it becomes a very case-by-case, like a bespoke assessment for each site, which is good on one hand, but the downside is that if you're someone like me who's trying to do an impact assessment for a proposed development, you're really having to design something from scratch that's bespoke every single time. And it also means the regulators don't have a clear benchmark to assess what you're doing against. It's just something I wanted to note in that, but the inputs to the music model type process are fine, but they're not really well designed for industrial sites. And there's something that needs to happen there, whether it's driven by the EPA or someone else to get some kind of further guidance and standardization.
See, you should have been there when I spoke to him.
I know. I wish I was.
All right. Hey, look, we need to cut this short. Otherwise, us chatting is longer than the interview with Mircea.
I hope everybody enjoys it. It was quite an interesting chat with him.
Yeah, and everybody go and do check out Mircea's videos, right? Yeah. Because that's how it all started, right? You basically send me a message saying, "Hey, check this guy out. You would love him," right? And yes, I did.
You don't hear this word that much anymore, but he's a larrikin. That's how I would describe him. He's a bit of a larrikin, right? He likes revving people up and sort of being a little bit sort of a bit of a counterculture kind of guy. But he's got it's all done in good fun.
Yeah, you would think that he and I have a very, very controversial podcast, but we both behaved.
You were very well behaved.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Again, probably because I don't know much about the subject.
Well, hopefully everybody who listens, can take a few things away and be a little bit more knowledgeable about this stuff.
Well, thanks for that.
No worries. Thank you. That's it.
See you. Bye. See
you.
Housekeeping first. I forgot how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry.
Mircea is the short version. I'm happy with that. Don't worry too much about it.
Mircea. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
But it is not pronounced that way. Official. Is it? Mircea?
Nobody can say. Nobody can say.
So Mircea, fine. And I forgot your background.
Romanian. Is Romanian, so that's why it's difficult for many people to pronounce this name.
We're gonna have a festival of European accents here.
Yes, we will, which is okay. It's good. It's no problem.
Well, the The French Open is on in tennis, so we should.
Yes.
It's all good.
Definitely my favorite guy. I hope he wins. I hope he wins tomorrow. I think he's playing.
Who is your favorite guy? Hang on, I mean, the four left is Djokovic, is Musetti. The next one would be Sinner is left, of course, and Alcaraz.
Yeah. Who's my favorite guy? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm a Sinner fan ever since 2019. You like Novak?
Novak.
Of course.
I've always liked Novak since 2008. No, 2007. Since 2007 when he beat Baghdadis at the Wimbledon.
Baghdadis, yes. I mean, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. My God. But Novak, man, you can. I mean, he's certainly a controversial character, and there's a lot not to like about him. But when it comes to his tennis, that is outstanding. That is an unbelievable achievement what he's put together.
I like him. He's. I think had he been born somewhere else, maybe he would have been more loved. That's what I'm.
That's also possible.
By the media. He's a Serbian. My people. Well, it's not my people. Like my neighbors. We're neighbors. I have to be friendly there.
So other than being a tennis fan, we have another thing in common, because you also are an early Tesla fan. Is that right?
Yes. I've been driving Teslas for actually 10 years.
10 years ago, that's when they were prohibitively expensive.
They weren't cheap. But for the performance, I mean, they were a really big sedan, highly powerful, very good performance. So
you had an S-Class performance even, right?
The Model S performance, yeah. Yes.
You still got it?
No, I crashed it. I crashed it. It happens at a very low speed. I just took a wrong turn in an unfamiliar road, and I crashed it.
That's a shame, because with those you had unlimited supercharging for free, right?
Yes. Back in 2015, yes. So now not so much anymore.
So what model have you got now?
Oh, I just charged 3.
The 3? Yeah, I have a 3 as well. You have the performance, I assume?
I got the acceleration boost. Because the performance, I would have had to wait for 3 months, and I couldn't be bothered. I just got back.
Oh, what a shame. So you're only accelerating from 0 to 100 in how much? Is it 4 seconds or something like this?
The standard long range is 4.4, but mine, because I got the boost, is 3.9. So it's still sub 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's really important.
If it's 4 or more, I don't like it.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. We'll talk about you stirring up and ruffling a few feathers.
Yes.
Which is perfect for below the surface, right? I mean, that's what we're not about, ruffling feathers, but we don't mind it, right? You need to ruffle feathers where they need to be ruffled. But you are a stormwater man. That is perfect, because I hardly know anything about stormwater. So talk to us about the basics, the regular run of the mill. When do you get involved at a site? I mean, I assume it's at construction or DA stage.
DA stage.
And what are the run of the mill things that people need to think of?
Yeah, so there's a process. Obviously, you get stormwater as part of the land development process. So the first part, you have a planning approval, and then development application stage, then detailed design, construction, commissioning, and maintenance. For stormwater, the aspects of stormwater are 2 aspects: quantity and quality. Currently, unfortunately, they are analyzed in different ways. So there's completely different methods to do quantity and quality. The method for quantity is relating to something called intensity, frequency, duration data, which is simply a number. So for a 5-minute storm, you have an average exceedance probability of 20%, so roughly once every 5 years. And then because of that, you can come up with a number, 55 millimeters an hour or something. But that's only one number, and you look at it in isolation.
55 millimeters of rain per hour.
Per hour. Like this. So in the 5 minutes, it will be, 4 millimeters or something.
Okay. And any development, be it commercial or residential, needs to be able to meet those.
Yeah. So whatever the time of concentration is, there's different methods to analyze it. Whatever the time of concentration is you end up with a number, and then you have to look at that number and analyze that storm in isolation. That's done for quantity, right? And the assumption is you say in the beginning, you look at what happens there before the design, and then you look at what happens after the design. And then you want to make sure that before and after design, you don't change the situation, right? If you had an outflow of 20 liters a second from a site from the before situation, you shouldn't make the after situation worse.
Okay.
That's the quantity. The quality is a completely different type of modeling, and the modeling that you do during your quality is via continuous modeling. So you look at what happened over the last 10 years, and then you look at the entire volume of water. So one looks at the one storm in isolation, and you try not to increase the outflow in liters per second.
Yep.
And the quality one, you look at the entire volume that has falls in like 10 years or whatever, and then you say, okay, how much of that volume of water do I need to treat? With quality, it has nothing to do with the pre-development situation, except for if your development is in a water catchment. If your development is not in a water catchment, the targets are like this. You build something, you should remove, let's say, 80% of the suspended solids compared to not removing anything, right? So you don't look at what happened before.
Are we talking during construction or after?
No, after. So it's all during operation.
After. So when it's finished. Okay. No, not on this is operational. This is all post.
None of this is so all of this is operational post, is not construction.
Okay, good.
Construction is different. So you look at pre-development situation, post-development situation, you don't look at the construction situation.
Okay. And that is the same whether I build a new house for my family, so I'm residential, or whether it's a big industrial one.
It's a very big development. The quantity modeling is done slightly different, but it's still don't increase the outflow.
Understand. So you need to look at the quantity of it all, where you say we have on my finished development, there will be rainwater falling on it at some stage. And this new development and the hydraulics of this new development need to be able to cope with a certain amount of rainfall, and that needs to be able to be safely disposed of into the stormwater system. And that's what you are doing.
We do both, but with the quantity, you generally manage it with something called on-site detention. So you get a basin or something, and in the worst case scenario storm, you just figure out what's the worst case scenario storm, how much water comes out of that storm, and then you put a big tank, like imagine a bucket with a hole at the bottom.
Yes.
So that bucket, as it fills up, the hole, it's still like the orifice at the bottom will still discharge a certain volume. But you put the bucket in there. So although the water that comes in comes at a higher flow, the little orifice at the bottom will allow for a lower flow. And that's how you calculate it's called permissible site discharge, and is the outflow. And then it's also called the on-site detention volume. But that's, again, it's only calculated in one instance or one storm. And it's assumed that all other storms that are before it are less bad, right? So the volume will be sufficient.
Understood.
It's also assumed that one big storm doesn't come after another, right after another big storm.
Yeah.
So then because of that, you have, it's calculated in isolation. So the IFD data, they take a lot of continuous data, all the rainfalls, and then they distill it down to a number associated with a probability and a time.
Okay. Now, I mean, I understand quantity. You need to make sure that water doesn't bank up on your side, or even worse, that your side contributes so much into the stormwater system that it can't cope with it. So I get that. I mean, at least I understand the theory behind it. Quality, on the other hand, that is something. Explain a little bit more, because how can the stormwater quality? Yeah, okay. How is quality affected by a development when it's finished and so on?
So I'm sure you have walked on the street and then you've seen a lot of sediment or leaf matter going into the pit, right, into the discharge pits.
Yes.
And also because if it's a road, you carry a lot of dust particulates, a lot of sand. You can carry a lot of other gross pollutants that people discharge, like wrappings, also a variety of things. You can get also a variety of dissolved nutrients, and we're looking and these other dissolved bits. So, but we're looking at nitrogen and phosphorus.
Why are they the ones that you are particularly worried about?
It's historical because one of them, I forgot which one, hurts the rivers and the other one hurts the ocean.
Okay, I get it. Yeah.
These nitrogen and phosphorus pollutants, they cause algal blooms, increase the biochemical oxygen demand. So then you end up with all sorts of pollution in the river. So total suspended solids, nitrogen, phosphorus, and gross pollutants are the 4 pollutants that currently the industry worries about. There should be heavy metals, zinc, copper, all that, tire particles and all that, but the chance is not there.
Yes. When you have a finished development, there is really not much you can do about the quality anymore. Yes, people throwing cigarette butts and fast food wrappers, that's one thing. Again, you have no control over what people will be doing. But as far as the solids are concerned, the dust particles on your site, you have very little control over.
Well, this is why so when you do the modeling, you look at what kind of pollution is expected to be generated from that site. And the pollution is most impacted by the type of use for the land and sometimes the geographical location. So in Brisbane, to give you an example, in Brisbane, you have certain pollution generation curves and values for a road. In the guidelines, for example, Brisbane has commercial road, industrial road, and urban residential road, and it has different pollution generation values for those 3. In New South Wales, in some locations, you have sealed road, unsealed road, which are different pollution generations. In Victoria, you usually have only one type of surface, which is road, which is used for every trafficable surface, including trafficable terraces and balconies. Don't at me. That's what the guidelines say. I didn't come up with it. All of these pollution generation curves are the ones that inform you how many kilograms of pollutant per year you're going to generate, depending on how much rainfall you get. So it's a relatively complex continuous modeling that looks at how much pollution comes out of your site, and then you remove it with a variety of devices, gross pollutant traps, filters, and so on.
That gets us into the area of your background, because you are a software engineer, aren't you?
Well, I'm mostly a civil engineer. So I have a degree in civil engineering in water, and I have a degree in software engineering as well.
Okay.
But I practice more as a civil engineer, as the water engineer, and I don't do a lot of coding. I do collaborate with people who do very good code, but I don't do it myself.
A lot of the work that you do revolves around simulation, basically simulation programs that take past data and apply that to a new setting, and that is all hopefully done by some sophisticated software models. Is that right?
Yes, that's a part of what we do. The thing that I'm most focused on is improving the workflow for the land development process. So if you look at a continuous modeling programs such as, for example, music, remember how I said that the pollution generation varies depending by locality and by area. Also, the rainfall and evapotranspiration varies depending by locality, by council. The type of devices that treat and the parameters and devices that treat varies by council and by authority as well. So you end up with a very large number of guidelines. So as a consulting engineer, when you want to design something, what you do, your workflow is first you have to go look at the guidelines. Then you have to go and gather the data, and in a 160-page guidelines, for example, I'll give you an example. In the Healthy Land and Water in Brisbane, in their guidelines, the orthophosphate, this obscure value, orthophosphate filter media for bioretentions is 30 and total nitrogen is 400. Now, the defaults in music are different. So if you're a consulting engineer, you have to find these two values in a guideline that's 160 pages long, amongst other values, and then manually put it in the software, in music, for example.
Sorry, music, you mentioned that for the second time now. Music is a municipal stormwater. What does it stand for?
So it's a all designed software that does the stormwater quality analysis via continuous modeling. That's one of them. We have one too. It's called John Connor Online, and John Connor Online is interchangeable with music. So whatever you do with, if you can create the music model with John Connor Online and open it up with music. It's absolutely no problem.
Okay. So music is the incumbent.
Yes. Unfortunately, conceptually, it was done back in the 90s. So it's an exercise in data entry. So what we've done is implemented all the guidelines into a web-based map, a web-based tool. Implemented all the source nodes, all the data, all the other information. So we're not replacing music per se. It's like we're integrating our modeling engine into a full workflow that removes the need to do all sorts of manual data. And I mean, it's okay to know the guidelines, but you shouldn't be forced to know obscure values in the guidelines and then put them in the software every time you want to create a source node.
Is that correct, that the output of your software can be used as the input into music?
The music model. The output of our software is a music model, so music can open it, no problem.
So I'll put a link to your software into the show notes so everybody can have a look and can have a squeeze.
It's not just to say one of the outputs, because our software actually generates an automatic report, appropriate report that you can submit to the council.
Okay.
Just based on one click. Like you just it generates the report from the music model with one click. Whereas if you use music, then music has absolutely no reporting capabilities that I know for the purpose of consulting. So you may be impressed to hear, if you wanna generate a stormwater quality report using music, you have to take screenshots of the music results.
Doesn't sound a lot like software to me. That's an analog way of going.
Very analog in that you have to take screenshots, and all the data that you put into your model, you have to write it down again into your report by hand. It's not automatically generated from the model. Yeah, it's laughable.
I can slowly understand where your frustration in your fight with Melbourne Water comes from, because that's where the Stormwater Stirrer comes in.
Yes.
You're based in Melbourne, right?
We're national. Company is based in Canberra, actually, but
in Canberra.
I am everywhere. I travel a lot. We're actually written in the guidelines in Tasmania. We're New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria. We cover parts of South Australia with certain things too, because we have a bunch of tools. Not only this one, not only the John Connor Online / music modeling tool.
So when someone follows you on LinkedIn, and this is how we came across you, is because you have this highly entertaining dispute with Melbourne Water.
Yes.
It is truly popcorn stuff, guys. If anybody wants to go and have a look, this is highly entertaining. So there is someone who appears to be super informed, and he's taking on a public service who just doesn't know what to do anymore, because it just they are not designed to respond to the way how you treat them. Tell me a little bit about your dispute.
Well, it started with the fact that the first software that I created was a shorthand. So you can look at it this way: you can create very complex models with complex treatment trains. So you have a source node that goes into a gross pollutant trap, that goes into a bioretention. You have another source node that goes into the bioretention. So it's like a very complex tree. Or you can have a very simplified situation for small developments. So if you only have a house or a bunch of townhouses, in a small development, or even a large industrial estate, the roof will go to a rainwater tank. and then into the legal point of discharge. The road will go into a bioretention, then the legal point of discharge. So you see how simplified this is. It's simply lines. And if you do it like that, you can actually more easily create a way to provide computational results. And the consultant or the user doesn't have to know anything. They don't have to stress with even opening a software like Jonker Online or Music. It's very simple. It's tabular format. And what happened was Melbourne Water has engaged some company called Microburst to do this back 18, 19 years ago, which is yes. So they have this old software that was created 4 or 5 guidelines ago.
Yes.
And everybody knows that the software is not fit for purpose, including DECA right into the mist that is not fit for purpose. And Melbourne Water on their website lies that it's fit for purpose. And obviously, that's a little bit frustrating, because I've created something that is far better. I mean, my reports are 15 pages long, and there's this half a page.
Hang on. Do you need screenshots in your program?
No.
So, okay, no. I can categorically say yours is better.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but that already is a kind of a pre-qualifier here.
Yeah. Yes. No, the program that Melbourne Water endorses that is owned by Microburst is a very simple program, and their page is their report is like half a page. They have a report, but it's like not even half a page. It's very simple, and doesn't look at all the pollutants. But then the most important part is it fails the guidelines, so it pollutes the environment. So it fails the guidelines by up to 90%. So you can say, you can build something, let's say you're a consultant, and you use this tool, and Melbourne Water says that it complies with the guidelines, but it doesn't. You will pollute the environment. Instead of removing 80% of the pollutant, you'll remove 8% of the pollutant, and the program will be like, sweet, no worries.
Oh. You didn't hesitate to point this out, though, in a very nice way. But instead of this is what's so frustrating with some of our regulators, right? You point things out, and then it would be in some cases relatively easy to fix that. But no, they seem to have whatever kind of handcuffs on that stops them from implementing advancements.
Well, I offered them to use my software for free, and they didn't want to. So they kept the software that fails the guidelines instead of freely using the one that complies with the guidelines.
Oh, God. Okay.
And I asked them nicely for about 2.5 years to delete that, like to stop saying that Storm complies. All I'm asking is delete one sentence. They don't want to delete one sentence. That's basically the crux of the problem.
Okay, so hey, for legal reasons, I'm going to say it's categorically, I have no idea how all this went. I did watch some of your videos that you have on LinkedIn. I found them highly, highly amusing. I even stopped watching some of the tennis in the last couple of days to watch your videos. It's truly cool. But I don't know. So Melbourne Water, don't come after us. I'm just the messenger here, okay?
It's all right. They won't. They don't come after me either, because I punk them all the time, and they know I'm right. So they threaten me a lot, but they do nothing.
Can I put some of the links that you gave me to your videos? Can I put them into the show notes?
Anything. They're public. Everything is like, I'm not really hiding anything,
Most of our listeners are in New South Wales. How does this apply to New South Wales?
Authorities in Australia are generally very slow to accept advancements and innovation. Mm-hmm. So to the authorities, my disagreement with Melbourne Water does not necessarily apply to New South Wales, but what applies to New South Wales is that our tools are usable in New South Wales, right? If they want to use music, they can, but it's far faster and more cost effective. And
music, I have come across this acronym, so it must be used here in New South Wales as well.
Models for urban stormwater improvement conceptualization. So as I said, it's a software to do analysis, but look at it like this. You have Microsoft Excel, and then you can write a CSV file with Microsoft Excel,
yes,
and run it with Google Sheets. Or you can write a CSV file with Google Sheets and run it with Microsoft Excel. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Well, those things, so our software is Google Sheets. Music is Microsoft Excel. There's no difference in the results. and you can verify one with the other because you have the CSV file that can be run with both. So to maintain the analogy, our software saves a file that's a CSV file, which you can open up with music and then see that it gives you the same result. But whereas music has no automation in reporting from the CSV file, we create the report automatically with the specific information in that council location as well. I can do a project in half an hour to an hour, maybe 1 hour and a half, and consultants take 10, 15 hours to do the same thing, and not necessarily with the same level of quality, because it's a lot of data entry.
I know because I am currently renovating my house, and it's more or less all gone, and so now I had to hire a hydraulics engineer, and I look at what these guys come up with, and I'm not in that field, but I'm an engineer, and I look at what they do and what they have done, and I'm like, man, I paid way too much for this, because a lot of this isn't, first of all, not difficult, and secondly, some of it was wrong. It's just terrible. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yes, it's because of the process, right? So the workflow to do things in the stormwater industry is I have a friend who's a business consultant, and he looks at me, and literally whenever he sees what I do, he laughs and says, "You guys are in the 80s. It's like the computers were just invented for you." This is not a joke. It's embarrassing. This is actually why I started this company, not for any other reasons. Just like I was embarrassed how shockingly bad everything is. It's just a lot of data entry for no reason. And then what happens is with the processes, you do something at design stage and then it doesn't get built at construction stage. The contractor will come and say, "Oh, I'm going to swap this device for this other device." Why? Because it's cheaper. But
so a device, you're talking, if you say device now, you say like
treatment device, any treatment device.
A treatment device, be it
GPT, bioretention, filter, anything.
Filters or SOx or whatever you put in there to improve the quality of the stormwater. Yeah.
So this will shock you even more. If you hear this, I think you'll enjoy yourself. So after you build it, and maybe you not always build it right, you don't always build it with the same device, so it's a different device. Then many times the council or the authority or the asset owner doesn't even know they have the asset, which is why not me, a lot of other people in the industry are saying that maybe 10% of all the stormwater devices are maintained. So look at it this way. Australia spends around 500 million, but I've been told that I'm laughably conservative, and it's probably more than 1 billion. In the land development industry, all the houses that we develop, all the money that we spend to pay for our accommodation, and you get benefits maybe equivalent to 100 million. Maybe you get 10% of the benefits, because 90% doesn't get maintained at all, because the asset owner doesn't even know they have it.
That's caused by requirements being placed on developments, that they put certain stormwater devices in place, be it a detention pond, or be it a filter system, or whatever, something that slows down stormwater before it gets discharged.
That treats the water. It's more about the treating the water. So slow down too, but they never get maintained. Yes.
So settlement, for example, so that it settles out, right? So that's total dissolve, total suspended solids fall out before it reaches the stormwater system.
Yes.
Now this is interesting, because that gets put in place, and then the developer sells the property, whatever is on that property, and there doesn't seem to be a handover process between what was put in place for stormwater management.
Council doesn't know,
and then council doesn't know. Well, council should know, because they have put it in as part of the DA, but the new owner doesn't know that there's a certain amount of maintenance required, or that it is even there.
My brother, council does not know. I'm not talking out of the blue. Literally, council does not know that they have the asset. I'm going to go out and say half of the asset that get built. I've been personally with council to a variety of locations where they didn't know that the asset existed. They had it marked as a pit, and it was like $500,000 gross flow ton trap.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking, that maybe is the land developer, but these assets a lot of times they don't get put at a residential level. They do get put at council level or sometimes large industrial level. I have friends who manage industrial properties like shopping centers, and on the drawings they had as constructed, they had a Hume's GPT in there. But then they went in and they saw it as an EcoSol. And the funniest thing is that before I told them that they should have a GPT on site, they never knew. It's a joke. However bad you think it is, it's worse. And there's like an endless stream of nightmare stories. So basically, we're spending money for nothing. So that's why our software is trying to integrate everything and create a database to allocate for maintenance as well, right? Because if you maintain the project from development application all the way to construction and maintenance, that data gets saved and sent to council, and it's all good. So then the council has it, and we can even, whenever council approves the development, they can just say, okay, in our interface, okay, the development is approved. And then 6 months later, they get a call and say, hey, you have this device in this latitude and longitude, clean them. The number of ways in which stormwater quality management, both in design and construction and maintenance, can fail is unlimited. I've seen bioretentions where the water doesn't go into the bio. The thing is designed to go outside, right? The driveway is designed to grade away from the bio. So there's no catchment for the bio. That bio is useless. That has no point being there.
Sorry, you say bio is leaf matter and
so bioretention can catch leaf matter, can catch a lot of things. So what it does is basically plants that grow into a media filter, and then water goes through the media filter, is collected at the bottom and goes away into the discharge. There's multiple ways of things to fail. To give you another example, personally, I know this location where there's a GPT and a wetland behind the GPT.
Sorry, GPT, it's not the chat program, it is what?
Yeah, gross pollutant trap. So you had a gross pollutant trap that was stopping pollutant and some sediment, and then the water would go into a wetland to get treated some more, right? And then because the council didn't know, not only the council didn't know the gross pollutant trap was there, but also the gross pollutant trap was built on top of a earth mound, like landscape mound, without a pad. So I went to the council and I said, you have a GPT here? And they said, really? And I said, yes, let's go clean it. And they said, okay. So when they came to clean it, they said, I'm not putting the truck in there. And I said, why not? And they said, because I'm not taking it out because there's no pad. Okay. So there's two failures here, right? Council didn't know it existed. It didn't have a pad to be cleaned up. And the funniest thing is, the land developer who spent hundreds of millions for that development or whatnot, it was a pretty big residential development. The land developer realized that the wetland was getting foul. So what they did is they emptied half of the wetland and turned it into a bioretention. But they didn't fix the problem because the point of infection, which was the full GPT, was still there. So I went in person to the land developer. I'm like, what you guys spent, it's pointless because you just haven't fixed the problem. Oh, no, we fixed it. No, you didn't. And I explained to them why. So there's a lot of lack of knowledge, and the way things are built, I just kind of suggested about 3 different points of failure. And even when people spend money, they can't fix it. So my suggestion is to change the workflow and change the way you manage the process.
Well, we're coming towards the end of it all. So is there anything else that must be mentioned? I tried to talk to you about stormwater discharge on construction sites when you have water accumulating in some of the pits. Neither you nor I seem to be actually the ultimate ones to talk about this. So I'll get a different guest on. Anything else you would like to mention?
Yeah, sure. Have a look at our LinkedIn. Hopefully you'll be entertained and also will learn something. Our software, our website, I tried to make it educational as well.
Okay, there will be a link in the show notes, of course.
Help and tutorials are actually things that I've written for the Australian stormwater industry, and then they're focused on, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland. So hopefully that's helpful for people. Hopefully people will be learning something and be entertained in the process.
Yeah, they will be entertained. I can tell you that. I was laughing all the way here. This is very, very good. So, Miha, thank you. It's such a pleasure, and so sorry for the many reschedulings that we had to do. It's not a sign of disrespect or that other people are more important. It's just we just couldn't get our act together.
It's no problem, Gunnar. All good.
Good luck with everything. Congratulations for what you're doing. Very well done. And thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Gunnar.